Hello YouTube bro, my name is Nicholas Montez and you're watching my YouTube channel, The Teenage Movie Critic. And welcome back to another YouTube channel everybody. And in today's video, we are doing a Phase 5 tier list. That's right folks. This past week, Ironheart premiered its last 3 episodes. So that means Phase 5 has officially come to a close. And that means I'm going to be ranking all the projects in Phase 5. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first up we have, and basically this will include all the projects from 2023, 2024, and 2025. First up we have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So this was essentially supposed to be the big film that was, taking the small characters of Ant-Man and putting them into a much bigger world, but smaller. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this phase was so complicated that it literally did not start off with a bang. To where I'm probably going to put this show, I'm going to put it in the F. Unfortunately. Now, I can't, just fully hate on this show, on this movie, but, this movie was bad. To where I just feel like everything, from the ideas that they came up with, I'm like, this just seems so dumb, but then I'm like, from the way Marvel was thinking back then, and how much hype they were setting up for it, I'm like, okay, maybe they could actually cook up something here. It's Marvel. They've done it before. They did Ant-Man. We never thought it would work. They made it work. We never thought a Black Panther movie would work. They made it work. And this movie, they did not make it work at all. And first off, and especially now that all this stuff with Jonathan Majors is done, it's really terrible, or whatever word you want to call it. And not even Kang is a bad villain, which honestly Jonathan Majors did pretty good in his performance as the character. I couldn't really get into it because it's you didn't really like the character as much. And the fact that he gets defeated by ants is crazy. And then even then, none of the characters have any specific type of arc. Cassie doesn't have any interesting arc. Scott, Hope, they don't grow or change. We think maybe Scott will die, but he doesn't. Janet is keeping all these secrets from everybody. Hank is learning this. He at least has one interesting factor about him that makes him matter in this movie, but even then, he still doesn't really do a whole lot. And then the fact that they didn't bring back Luis and the rest of the ex-con crew, it just feels so weird that this movie failed so miserably. And then, they decided to bring back Darren from the first Ant-Man to be MODOK, and the way the quantum realm works, and that the fact that it's a smaller realm than ours, but it's, it's just showing up in real time, it makes no sense. And then the fact that, they're just able to return to real time, it's almost what were they trying to do here? Now, and the only positive I can really say is that the designs of the creatures and everything of the quantum realm was actually quite fascinating. I won't lie to you. It was kind of fascinating. And it reminded me a little bit of Star Wars. And I'm like, why couldn't this just be as interesting as Guardians of the Galaxy was? But then again, Guardians of the Galaxy was still, really good with its special effects. But overall, yeah, this movie was just terrible. But speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, we are then going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And this, to me, is easily going to go straight up in the A tier. So, if you guys know me, I am not, before this, I was never a big fan of the Guardians. They were never my favorite characters of Marvel. I never cared about them deeply or anything like that. I only liked them because of the interactions we had with them in the Avengers movies, and I did like the holiday special a few months before we got the third film. And when going into the third movie, I was just so impressed that I'm like, yeah, I don't know if this movie will be anything great. I mean, we haven't really had a great MCU film since Endgame. I mean, yeah, No Way Home was great, but it was mostly fan service, and Wakanda Forever was pretty great, but it felt more like a memorial for Chadwick Boseman more than anything. And so I'm thinking, when are we ever going to get another MCU film to where it just feels like a big event and everybody loves it, not because of fan service or a gimmick, not because of paying tribute to an actor that just died, but more of feeling the emotions from characters in this fictional world. And I feel like Guardians 3 actually did that. To where, essentially, this is probably the best the Guardians have ever been. From when it comes to the action, it's bigger than ever, and all the action feels so exciting in this one. It's crazy to me that it took James Gunn this long to actually come and do all this right. When it came to the emotions, whether the characters fake deaths or something, or they just happen to not die, you feel every single emotion. And even though Rocket doesn't die, you are scared for him the entire movie. And to me, that is something extraordinarily special, because it brought you to this point to make you care about the characters. Hold up. But also, not only did it make me care about the characters, but it also handled all the characters well in their character arcs and the journeys that they've been on. And it just makes you feel like, wait, we're caring about Nebula, but we never cared about her before. And then you realize she's unrecognizable, and like, she's one of the good guys, and she's transformed from the last time we saw her in the first two films. And I'm just sitting here going like, how did this work so well? It's insane. And then like, even Rocket's backstory is just so sad. There were times in this movie that I almost did cry. I never cry. I don't usually cry in movies, but I almost did kind of cry in this one. And especially with all the character moments. And I liked that all the characters kind of had their own moments to shine. So, Drax and Mantis got their moments to shine. Gamora, while she's not the Gamora we know, she gets some pretty good moments. Groot gets some awesome moments. Of course, I mentioned Nebula a lot. I like Kraglin and Cosmos interactions. And overall, the film just works well. Of course, the soundtrack is great. Just everything. The only flaw I really have with it is Adam Warlock, because they just didn't handle him well. But overall, everything is just perfect about this film, man. Like, everything. Like, this is honestly one of my favorite superhero movies in a long time. And, Superman comes out in a week, and we'll see how he does with that. But, I am extremely grateful for Guardians 3. It's my favorite movie of the decade. Like, I haven't seen a movie that is just as good as Guardians 3. Like, this movie was incredible. Next up, sorry, I had a parent call me. Next up we have Secret Invasion, which is the first show of Phase 5. And I'm not gonna lie, I tried to defend this show, and I still kind of do, but I can understand the flaws that this show has. That once again, it's doing the 6-episode rule. It's doing the 6-episode length, and I don't think it works. I will say there are some scenes in this show that have really good acting in it. But I just think overall, this series just didn't work well enough. To where I'm like, by the 4th episode, I'm like, so what's now? Talos is dead. And then we have like a few, we explore Nick Fury's birth, like his marriage, and then we have like a big CGI fight at the end. I'm like, this is kind of weird. I will say, whatever like off-inhabitant planet thing they're doing with this show that's setting up for the future, I hope they set up something cool with that, but honestly, I can't really expect too much from it. But I think that's just it. The show was alright. I'll put it in D just for good, because it had pretty cool acting. Then we have I Am Groot Season 2. Another very good season of I Am Groot. Of course, I really loved the first season. I thought it was spectacular, and this was just another great season. I will say there's some plot lines in this season that just don't make any sense. Like, obviously, I understand it. It's a series of 5 episodes of shorts with Baby Groot. But, like, why are we stopping? If this takes place during Guardians 2, why are the Guardians having to stop on a snowy planet just so Groot can make a snowman, and then it happens to be, like, evil, and then he has to destroy it? That makes really no sense. Either Groot had to go off on his own and steal a ship, or, like, he, like, kept convincing the Guardians to be like, I am Groot, I am Groot, I am Groot, and then fine, we'll stop on the snowy planet. Like, no, that seems a little weird, but I'll put this one in B. It's not, like, my favorite or anything, but it's still very good. Then we have Loki Season 2. So, yeah, this season has a few of the returning seasons from the MCU, from Phase 4. And I think Loki Season 2 was actually very good. Like, once again, I love all the interactions between Loki and Mobius. I love seeing more of the TVA. And I loved exploring more of, like, these time loops and all this different stuff. And, you know, it left me on a note where I'm like, this is satisfying, but I also wasn't expecting that. To where I'm like, so Loki's destiny wasn't to be on a throne, it was on a throne to be holding all the timelines together? Is that what this is? Like, it was a very interesting finale. So I think overall, I'm probably going to put this show in the B tier as well. Yeah, it's pretty great. Then we have The Marvels, which I'm actually going to be a quick defender here. I can't say that this movie is awesome or amazing, or, but I also wouldn't say it's bad. It's pretty good. Obviously, do I remember anything about the villain? Not really. To be honest, the main thing you kind of came here for was the fun of the action between our 3 Marvel characters. As essentially, whenever they try to use their powers, they switch places, and it builds for pretty cool action scenes. And to be honest, it's a whole lot of fun, and their character interactions are the best. And honestly, that's kind of what holds this movie back from being just a terrible movie. It's not really bad. And to be honest, like, is it as, like, spectacular of a story? Not necessarily, but it's good enough. It's cheesy, it's goofy, it's kind of like the Iron Man 3 of Phase 5 of the MCU, so it's like, it works. So for me, I'm going to put this one in the C category. I enjoyed The Marvels. I don't care what anyone says, I really liked The Marvels. Then we have What If Season 2. So we have 2 What If seasons in this phase. And I'm not going to lie, as for this season, I thought this was one of the few better seasons, to where I feel like this might be a pretty great season of What If. To where I feel like a lot of the episodes in here are actually just really good. Like, you have... Actually, let's go to Disney Plus for a minute, because this is incredible. Hold up. So, like, look, we got Nebula join. What if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? It was pretty good, but, you know, it was still a solid, you know, story. What if Peter Quill attacked Earth's Mightiest Heroes? So it's kind of like, what if the Avengers assembled in the 80s? And I thought that was really cool. What if Happy Hogan saved Christmas? So it's like a Die Hard, but with Avengers. What if Iron Man crashed into the Grand Master? Avengers storyline done differently. What if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? Another Captain Carter episode, but it was alright. What if Kahori reshaped the world? Pretty impressive show, though I do think it was a little weird that they introduced a new character in a show like this, but I still thought it was really good. My favorite episode here was what if Hela found the 10 rings? And then what if the Avengers assembled in 1602? The only thing that really holds this season back is that I never really liked the finale, that like you basically continued the Doctor Strange stuff, and that like I thought that whole plotline was closed off in season 1. But then again, I still honestly really enjoyed this season. Now, as to where I'm going to put it, honestly, I'm going to put it in the B category. I really enjoyed it, overall. It's right there. Or actually, yeah, I'm going to put it the low. Yeah, it's going to go right there. Then we have Echo, which is another actually really good series. And, it's, coming off of Hawkeye, which some people liked, some people didn't. I don't care. I still really dug it. The only thing is, it just kind of lacked a lot of episodes missing. It should have had a little bit more episodes to flesh things out. But overall, I still thought this was a pretty great show. So I'll put it in B as well. Then we have X-Men 97. Which is another pretty great series, which, of course, this is technically, just Marvel animation. It's not really part of the MCU. It's just a 90s animated Marvel show coming back from the 90s. Me, personally, I wasn't that excited for it just because I never grew up with the animated show, so I had no idea what to expect from this. And then I finally watched it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is actually so good. Now, granted, I was surprised with a lot of stuff. Didn't really understand the cliffhanger, but then I'm like, it is leaving me wanting more, so I'll give it that. And honestly, this show was pretty great. And, it reminded me like Marvel's version of Invincible. That they really did cook something really well here. And they're using the Marvel Studios template to do cool animation for that. So, like, that's really something special. Then we have Deadpool and Wolverine, which is the only movie that came out in 2023. And honestly, if I'm going to be honest with you here, I think that this movie it's very flawed, but it's a ton of fun. To me, this movie feels like the Hobbs and Shaw of the MCU, to where basically you don't really come here for the action. You come here for two bunch of characters interacting and playing jokes on each other. That's what this whole movie is. And yeah, it is a ton of fun. It is so much greatness to see Ryan Reynolds back as this character. It's so great to see Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. It's so great to see Wesley Snipes back as Blade, or Jennifer Gardner as Elektra. And even seeing Channing Tatum as Gambit. It's so great to see all of this. The soundtrack in here is pretty great. It is a pretty great blend, but at the same time, I gotta admit, it's a pretty messy movie. That the action sequences, while they're a lot of fun, I can't really say that they're like expertly well done. They're nothing like the way the first two Deadpool films were. And then even then, like, the story here I found to be kind of weird. Like, I think the journey that we're going on with Deadpool Wolverine is pretty good. But the specific thing that they're creating new things for the multiverse with like, not absolute points, but like anchor beings and stuff like that. Like, it just keeps creating all these plot holes, and it's like, which one is which? And how are they going to fit all this together? And if anything, if they're going to be doing this, could it just be rumors? Like, that all these things are what it is said to be. I don't know. So that's what has me a little confused. But overall, and everybody was just kind of acting like that this was the movie that was going to save Marvel. No, it's not. This movie wasn't even in my top 10 favorite films of the year. So just to let you know that. But overall, I'm going to put this one in the B tier as well. But it's going to go at the bottom. It's going to go between What If Season 2 and Echo. Then we have Agatha, and I'm not going to lie, this show, it's frustrating because I did kind of enjoy, Catherine Hahn as Agatha again. Obviously, the big thing I loved about this show was a bit of the creepiness. I did really like Aubrey Plaza as Death. She was, wow. She's gorgeous. She is incredible. She can take me anytime. But also I really like the story that we learned with Pietro, or I guess, Ralph Boner. That was kind of interesting. But, yeah. It was a show. And to be honest, I just kind of found myself bored that I didn't watch it whenever it premiered. I just kind of had it in the background because I guess I didn't care. So, yeah, I'm going to put this one in the F tier, unfortunately. And then we have What If Season 3, which is the final season of What If. This one's also frustrating because a part of me really wants to put this in the F tier, but then at the same time, I'm just like, I can't, like, but the same time, like, I kind of enjoyed things about this season. There's a few things I may have enjoyed about a few episodes here and there, but I don't know if it's really enough to really, like, put it in the D tier. Because it's like, it almost feels like they were going with ideas that, like they had actually, let's look at this. Let's look at this. Let's look at it. So, like, we have, what if the Hulk fought the Mech Avengers? We have Avengers going in, the Avengers going in and trying on mech suits to fight these Godzilla Hulks. I'm like, that is an awesome premise. But then you want to waste, but then honestly, I would say that episode actually worked. It worked well enough. And then you had What If Agatha Went to Hollywood? That is, like, it's an interesting premise, but, like, they never built up Agatha to be a cool character, and you're doing it with one of the characters from Eternals that, like, nobody cared about Eternals, so why would we care about it in a what if concept? And then what if the Red Guardian slapped or stopped the Winter Soldier? That was at least kind of good, but it doesn't really create anything that interesting. What if Howard the Duck got hitched? Basically, what if, like, Howard the Duck and Darcy Lewis got married? That's a weird premise. And basically the entire they have a baby, and the entire universe is trying to get that baby, and it's a magical kid. Even Thanos tries to get in on it. What if the emergence destroyed the Earth? And basically it's like another Eternals focused episode, but it's like focusing with Mysterio, but it's not like it's not the Mysterio we know from the MCU. It's like this whole new version, but like we never even got the comic accurate Mysterio. And so it's like, and then like they decide to bring in White Vision in here, and it's like, it's really weird in the way they did it. And then you get What If 1872, where it's like the MCU in like during a Western with Shang-Chi and Kate Bishop, and basically taking all these, and it's like, it had a lot of potential, but it's like, it messed up really bad. And then you get what if the Watcher disappeared, and then what if, and I'm like, you're doing another like character with female power, and then you're doing all these people with like superpowered powers, and then it's like Captain Carter dies, and then you see all the potential that this show had, and it was wasted. And it's like, yeah, was there a few episodes I enjoyed, like the What If the Hulk fought Mech Avengers and the Winter Soldier episode, and honestly, those were like the two episodes I honestly only enjoyed. 1872 had some fun action, but honestly, I didn't really like that show. I didn't really like the episode because it just did not handle the story well. So, honestly, I have to put this in F tier, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'm sorry for all of you that probably liked it or whatever. I couldn't get into it. Then we have your friendly. Now we're into the final stages of Phase 5 in the MCU with the projects of 2025. We have your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, the animated series on Disney Plus, and I thought this show was fine. All you that decided to praise it when it came out, I really don't know what you saw in this show. And, you know, for the most part, it's a good show. You know, I will say, you know, this version of Peter Parker is pretty cool. I like that they're, you know, they're still finding a interesting way to, you know, do this story. They did a lot of switch ups with the characters and lots of interesting stuff. And we're also being while we're being reintroduced to familiar characters we know of. It's also being introduced to characters that we never really seen before, like Nico Minoru, or we got Black Harry Osborn, we got Black Norman Osborn, we got all these new characters, and it's a pretty cool story. And I also like the way they did the world building of New York, and the way they built up the Scorpion crew, and where Tombstone is coming from, and all that stuff. And I'm like, this is cool. Like, this is really cool. And I will say, I really liked the way they developed it. The problem is, honestly, I will say, I can't put it in the D tier because I really liked the way it's gonna set up for season 2, because I am excited for season 2 and what's gonna be set up there. But I don't like the way the show ended. That basically Norman Osborn had all of his interns working on these projects. That essentially he was making them work to build a project for Norman Osborn to make a portal to other alien worlds. Why would that be so inventive? Like, why would you, like... And then, like, it brings the symbiote. Ooh. We just got the symbiote back in Spider-Man 2, the video game. And we saw how it ended up, and it was awesome. But even then, it's like, we've seen the symbiote thing already. It's like, I'm excited for it, but, like, I don't know if I'm that excited for it, but... This show, it was good. And I'm hoping that season 2 is better, but I wasn't feeling it for the most part. But yeah, so I'm gonna put this one in C. Then we have Captain America: Brave New World, and this is another movie that I kind of enjoyed. Obviously it's very flawed. The dialogue is pretty crappy, and it doesn't quite feel like the first 2 Captain America films. A lot of the action in this movie just feels very cheap. It doesn't feel as good. It is just very ridiculous in what this movie was trying to do. And honestly, I couldn't get into it as much. And the fact that, like, they came up with it's like what Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania did in putting Ant-Man against Kang. They did this again with Captain America, Sam Wilson, going up against a fiery Harrison Ford Red Hulk. Why on earth would that be a good idea? You're having a Captain America going up against a vibranium flying wingsuit Captain America. That's not really a cool fight. Unless you bring in a Hulk or another stronger Captain America, you are not going to win this fight, dude. He only won by technology. So overall, I'm going to put this movie in the D tier because there are a few parts I did like. I did like the stuff with Isaiah Bradley. I did like the cameo with Bucky. And the Red Hulk stuff, to finally see a Savage Hulk again, was pretty fun. But, I couldn't enjoy it all that much. But then we get into our last streak of the MCU, where honestly, we've had a 3-year streak. We've had a 3-month streak of great MCU projects in Phase 5 with Daredevil Born Again, Thunderbolts, and Ironheart. And to talk about every single one of them, I think Daredevil Born Again was just so fantastic. To where, obviously, I can admit that the stuff with Punisher wasn't that great. He wasn't used as much. The stuff with Muse, he wasn't used as much. But the thing I really dug about this show was the way that I was able to open it up and bringing us back to the things we loved with our avocados at law, and then we just got reintroduced back to this world, and now they take it fully away from us with that heart gut wrenching opening with Foggy getting killed by Bullseye and all that stuff. And then you have this whole story of cops essentially, killing innocents, Kingpin becoming the mayor of New York City, and it does all these plot lines. Obviously, a lot of the characters in which I did like. They weren't bad, but you can obviously tell they were filling in the holes for Foggy and Karen being there. And I thought the cop plot line, and honestly, I think what made it good and what makes me excited for season 2 is, the reason why the show felt a little weird was because it was really edited and done by two different people, by different groups of people between the production of the show, where one side wanted to erase Foggy and Karen from the show, didn't want to have Punisher in it, and they also wanted it to be comedic and not have Daredevil show up in the suit until 4 episodes later, and it was a bad show. And then you have the last 4. You have the other crew where they actually wanted to make it more serious, more darker than the original show. And I think the mix was pretty good, but I know that now that they have a great basis on what they want to do for this show, I'm pretty sure that season 2 is going to be peak. I'm pretty sure, because it's not impossible for Marvel to not make a great movie, to not make a great show, because they can do it. And I would say so far, this is probably one of Marvel's best series. If not one of my favorites. I still consider Hawkeye to be one of my favorites, but Daredevil Born Again, it is a great series. And as for what it looks like with season 2, I am super excited. Much like Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, I like everything they're setting up. This show does the same thing, and I think there's a lot of story beats that is going to be set up there. So I'm very, very excited. Then we have Thunderbolts. A film that I was so nervous for because I just didn't really like the roster. And the fact that, you're basically going up against a character that is much more powerful than you. And you basically have a bunch of super soldiers, a couple of spies, and a ghost. How are you going to handle that? And that wasn't exactly the case at all. First off, I loved that they actually went a lot more practical with stuff whenever they're building the sets. And, that building Florence Pugh jumped off of, that was a real thing. But also, all the chases, the scene where Bucky arrives, it's great. And what makes them so great is the way that they're able to humanize all these characters. And it does something just a little bit different that stands out in light of most MCU films, to where they just kind of feel like they're done the same. But this one, it's not going Guardians of the Galaxy. It has the character interactions like Guardians, but it's not really that. It also has moments like WandaVision, to where we're kind of diving into these characters' mental states and why exactly do they act the way they act. Why does John Walker act like a jerk? Why does Florence Pugh do what she does? Because John Wick, I said John Wick, Florence Pugh. I meant Yelena. Yelena, why does she do all this? Because she's alone. When she came back from the blip, her sister died. She lost her sister, and then the only person of family she had was her adopted dad, Alexei. And then yet her dad didn't even check up on her because she thought she didn't want her. And it's a relatable thing in life and families and stuff like that. And even then, even the way they do Sentry and Bob's character, he's really interesting. The fact that, he's a little bit shut out, he's probably just not there because his parents fight a lot. And it's really interesting. Even the stuff they do with Valentina and exploring in exactly why she's the way she is. That's really interesting. And it's the fact that we're exploring mental health and, what makes us, who made us and what made us who we are to this day, makes it a very interesting superhero movie. And the fact that this group of heroes, this group of characters, feel more like a family than the Avengers ever did is something very fascinating. And then at the same time, it also feels more connective. I like that they also make Bucky a little bit more heroic, and they actually give him the chance to, be a leader in some parts. And then I guess this movie also does a great job of leaving me on a cliffhanger, but also being able to complete everything that I was trying to do. and, you know, stopping the Void, saving people, but now we're the new Avengers. And it answers our questions, but it also leaves us wanting more, and I really enjoyed that aspect. So for me, I overall love Thunderbolts, so I'm going to put this one in the A tier as well. So we'll put it right there. And then finally we have Ironheart, and I'll be honest, this is actually one of my other favorite MCU shows. Me personally, I love the way they explored this character. Basically, it's a tragedy that Riri Williams is guided by all these different things in how she is leading, and at the same time, she makes mistakes. She's vulnerable. She manipulates people into doing things. She can't communicate as much. She has too much stuff going on, and because of her, I guess her character, she gets into crime. She does all this stuff. For a person that's pretty smart, she's not exactly all that smart. She makes some pretty dumb decisions, and it's like hiding. She's not exactly all that smart. She's able to build stuff really well, but she's also not able to do the best of decisions. So, yeah, this was a show that, honestly, I really dug, and I thought it was a interesting story to explore. And, yeah, I just overall really loved it. So, yeah, I'm going to put this one in the A tier. And that is my thoughts on Phase 5 of the MCU. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.